Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 279. My name is Brando. Hello, Mr. Dee Snider.
Impressive, 279. That's the accomplishment, man. Well done.
Thank you. It's no House of Hair or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's 1,250 episodes, 25th year. Crazy. Yeah. But you'll get there.
You said 25th year you've been doing House of Hair?
25 years, yeah.
Wow. And another 25th anniversary, something you know since you're a hometown New York boy, like myself, Q104.3 just celebrated 25 years in New York City.
That's right. That's right. Yep. They mentioned that to me.
So as somebody who comes from where you come from, I mean, it's, Baldwin, Long Island, and seeing what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, I have no musical talent, but on the radio and acting and voiceovers, it's hard to believe because you've been quoted as saying that at the end of 2019, you thought you were done. I don't know if would you think that would have stayed if that continued, I guess, that feeling that you were done?
Well, I really felt I'm talking about recording and live performing. I mean, okay. I well knew that I was going to be writing. I've been working on my writing for the last 30 plus years. So I've written my first fictional novel, which is set on Long Island in the 70s. As a matter of fact, I wrote a new movie called My Enemy's Enemy, which I'm going to be directing. I've co-created a children's animated kids show that's with NBC right now being developed. So I knew that I had tons of other things that I was going to do. I just thought that I was feeling like, okay, I think I'm ready to put down the mic and move on to do other things.
Oh, okay. So then, but thankfully you didn't move on completely. So how long did Leave a Scar take to record from beginning to end? How long was that process?
It was somewhere in the middle of 2020 where I found myself saying to myself, I got to rock again. And it was kind of made me laugh because it was such an obvious statement that I'm pretty sure everybody was saying at that point after so many months watching, binge watching TV. And I said, oh boy, if that's not a Dee Snider song title, I don't know what is. And when I used to write songs, I would always work from song titles. I would jot down and I would have a list of song titles and that would inspire the song. And so I wrote down, I Gotta Rock Again. And I started, and then that started the process of just thinking about it. But it was really a tweet. And for those watching who don't think that social media affects people, I don't think a single statement or single reaction or single comment can trigger something. It can. It has historically. So many things have happened because one letter was written to the right person. And I was ranting about the state of politics at one point during the election period, and ranting that people needed to push back, fight back, stand up, make their voice heard. Don't let the extreme left and extreme right just drive this fucking bus. They are minorities. They think they're majorities because they sit in these chat rooms, FaceTime with 100,000 people and go, we're 100,000 strong. Well, guess what, asshole? There's 7 billion people on the planet. You're nothing. You're insignificant. You're a speck. You're 100,000. It's nothing, but they feel like there's something. So that makes them, empowers them. So I was trying to empower the vast middle. And somebody said, Dee, not all of us have a platform or the voice to speak out. What are we supposed to do? And I said, well, get behind somebody who's speaking for you. And then I realized that's me. That's the job that I've carved out for myself. And I said, okay, I got to rock again. Somebody has to speak up on behalf of the voiceless. It's time for me to do a new record. And that's when I picked up the phone to Jasta. So that was like middle of the year. I'd say it was about the whole process, 6 to 9 months. But talking about like getting the machine going, starting to work on the songs, creating the songs, getting the studio, recording, mixing, everything like that. So it was 6 to 9 months, I'd say.
All right, that's not too bad, actually.
6 to 9 COVID months. So, and I think it could have been faster if not for COVID. But I was in Belize, they're in Connecticut. It wasn't impossible, but it wasn't as easy as just like, hey, meet you in the studio. Let's start jamming, you know?
Oh, okay. All right. Right on. So what, I guess with that, because you're someone I think of when people say rock is dead. I'm like, then do something about it. You're doing something about it. And I was talking to Josh Todd about this, about the new Buck Cherry album, and he's really good at this. And if he's really good at it, it means that you're the grandfather, the godfather, I don't of it. That's an anthemic song.
Yeah.
So was that the plan, I guess, when you were like, I want to, make music again and go out and tour on an album? Was it to make hard anthemic music, or is there maybe because you have quite a lot of different crayons in your crayon box of ways you can go?
Yeah, I'd like to see. I think I've expanded it to the big box. I may have started with a little like the 6 colors, whatever, like the small box was.
Sure.
But then I've been adding more and more crayons, and I mean, just getting into the weird ones, with Broadway and radio and TV, and now I'm going to be directing a movie. Like, holy shit, I didn't have that palette, but I've expanded it. Look, you hit on a very important. Nothing makes me crazier than the words "rock and roll is dead." It is so selfish. It is so self-serving. It is so self-absorbed, self this, self that. It's just wrong. And it's like, get out of your fucking house, open your fucking ears and eyes, and just look around. Stop doing this and my God, you only have to turn left or right, and you'll just trip over a damn band that's trying to make it with very little effort. And I'm blessed in that my children are all metalheads, and they have kept me connected to what's going on, and not just metal. I became an Eminem fan when my son was 10 and wanted the album with Stan on it. And being true to my words in Washington, I listened to it and then sat and discussed it with my son. And we had a very, very important conversation about suicide, thanks to Stan, using it as a tool. But but he exposed me to that as well. But they have kept me aware of not only that there's new music, but there's great music. When Gene Simmons says, "Oh, let me tell you something, there's no Bob Dylan's or Jimi Hendrix." No, you're just not looking. The talent and the passion, because it's pure passion now. They don't have, these young kids don't even have a hope of getting rich doing it. Their best hope is that maybe we make enough money selling CDs and T-shirts after the show to get to the next fucking gig. You know what I mean? It's so real. It's so heartfelt. It's so for the love of rock and roll. Makes me crazy when people say rock is dead. Crazy.
Which is why it's so appropriate that your last song is called Stand, and everything we're talking about now. It's like, stand up for something, do something. And again, throughout my entire, rock consciousness, which again, if you're, especially for me, if you're from Long Island and Twisted Sisters from there, and you've always stood up for something, everything, so it's good to see that. Yeah, you're supporting new rock, new music, but you're still consistent. Your message hasn't changed, and you're not bitter about it.
Thank you for recognizing that, and I'm fairly proud of that. When I look back to, and I keep, somebody just interviewed me about censorship things, so for a book, so I'm kind of like there, but I just pointed out that my son was 3. I had one 3-year-old child, and I stood there and I said, this is who I am. This is the kind of parent I am. This is my belief system. This is how I will deal with music with my children. I'm not afraid. Does it? How difficult is it to listen to an album a month for the betterment of your child? And I have lived those words and still stand by everything. I have not changed an iota, and my belief system has not changed. And so many of my peers, when they got money, became suddenly right wing. Suddenly they're right wing Fox watchers, and like, what happened to being socially conscious? Weren't you when you were in your 20s and you were broke and poor? Yeah, but now I got money, and fuck those people. So I haven't changed my belief system at all. And Stand, yeah, it is a call to action. On so many levels, and and I just find that the vast middle moderates, whatever you want to call them, and we lean left, we lean right. I'm a concealed carrier, pro-choice, women's right activist to, fight censorship. But I'm a little this way and that way. I mean, that's the way most people are. But we tend, for the last decades, these are our words, I'm sure things will work out. I hope it'll. I trust things will be okay. It usually comes back to the middle. Guess what? And this isn't just the United States. This is the fucking world. It doesn't. It didn't. And those crazies on the left and the right, the extremes of minorities in those Facebook rooms who think they're 100,000 strong. Fuck you. They think, they think they're driving the bus because we sat there going, I trust it'll work out. Well, that's the line of the song. No more trusting. Put your name on that wall. Fucking leave a scar. Do something. And that goes with music as well. And it's not just politics.
And you're out there, physically doing it and also with the music. But I like that you're active on Twitter because it can get so frustrating, with all.
I'm an animal. Jamie came up with the song title. There's a song title on there, Open Season. He goes, Jesus Christ, D. He goes, people come after you. You go, oh shit, it's open season. Here they go. D's like, so did you talking to me? And it just blow them out of the fucking water. Next. So we wrote, that's what the song Open Season comes from.
I was going to ask you about that. Wow, I didn't even know that because that's one of my favorite tracks. I listened to the whole record already because I guess I'm privy.
The first line is, "Hey motherfucker, are you kidding me?" Like that's what I
like. Who is this about? I'm like, it's about the Twitterverse.
It's about the trolls. It's about the trolls. Like I was like, what did you say? Are you fucking kidding? Fuck you, and then move on.
So I like you and Sebastian Bach are very funny, and you even tweeted the support, and not that you expected a response, but at Axl Rose, because there was a time that he was voicing it. He was voicing his displeasure against Trump and against the right. And I'm like you, my Venn diagram is everywhere. I'm a registered no party. Like I have no party affiliation.
Same here. It's probably the best way to be. But yeah. Sebastian was not Sebastian, of course, my buddy Sebastian, outspoken. He's one of my students. Axl, I've never had any back and forth, but he spoke up. And that was there's a line in the song, "It's time to take the stage." That was directed at my peers, that line directly, because I was stunned. I get where the common sense says, stay out of it. You're an entertainer. And I get that. And I've, over the years, done that myself from time, for a large part. Don't get mixed up in everything. But comes a time when things are really serious where you need to speak the fuck up. And too many of my peers, not Axl, not Sebastian, not Tracy Guns, not Richard Marx, God bless him. Never say a bad word about Richard Marx. He's a motherfucker on Twitter. But but some of the others still stood by their guns. It's not my place. I shouldn't, stay out of it. It's what we don't have an opinion. We don't have a voice.
So ask, because people, I don't buy the whole, stick to singing, musician. Everybody is allowed to
stay in your lane. That's the big one.
Everyone has if you're a human, you have the right to have an opinion. Doesn't mean other people can listen to it or have to listen to you. But I want to ask about Axl and going, on the stage. He hasn't obviously, if you can tell by my background and the podcast, that's the theme of the show. He hasn't tweeted at all since the election, and it's like, someone like him, and you spoke about it earlier in the podcast, so I speak about this not just with him being more outspoken with politics, but mental health. I feel like Axl Rose would have such an impact. Someone like him, he's dipped his toe on the stage, I guess. Maybe he was more vocal when there wasn't as like during the 90s, but he isn't now. So that's something I want to see. You're vocal. Even if I don't like what you're saying, if you're an Aaron Lewis or Ted Nugent, at least you're not dipping your toe in. Just go all in or all don't. So I don't know. I want Axl to take the stage and just.
I mean, a lot of people once the election was over, and even I've toned down the rhetoric. I'm happy with the outcome. I'm unhappy with the big lie people. But at a certain point, like, you're not going to really change anything at this point, so there's no need to come out guns blazing all the time. But you were talking about mental health, and I just want to point out, I mean, there is a great opportunity for people to, like Axel, to help others. And I just want to, and I'm not blowing my own horn here, I'm just saying I just saying it's important. Jamie Josta came to me and said, listen, I really think we should have a song about depression, and because it's really affecting so many people. And I said, Jamie, two of my 4 children have dealt with it. It is a serious situation. It needs a song. It needs attention. I said, but I thankfully I have not dealt with that. I said, so for me to write words about it, it's just it's hollow. It's disingenuous.
Wow.
And I said, do you understand? He goes, I deal with it. I said, then you write those words. So it's the one song, because I said, and I'll sing them because I want a song about it. It is an important topic. I said, and if you, I wrote all the other words, most of them, but Jamie wrote the words for that one because he understood the pain. And
track is that? I know I've heard on him on a few tracks, right? But what track are you speaking of about?
Oh, it's called Silent Battles.
Okay.
Silent Battles. I'm sorry, I thought I said the name. No, Silent Battles is about depression and how the feeling that an army of one. No, it's very sad how lonely these people feel.
I don't want to keep you for too long because I know you have to go, but I have to thank you.
No, we're good. We're good till the top of the hour.
Oh, perfect. I think you said the same thing to me last time, so thank you. I just try to be professional.
They give me 10 minutes, rest, and also just in case it goes over or whatever. Sure. And I don't need 10 minutes rest. I just need time to press the next button and go.
So cool, because this is very important to me because the secondary theme of the podcast is mental health, because I talk about mine all the time. I've been in therapy for I'm going to be 38 later this year. I guess since I was 26, I was in therapy, and I feel like that was even too late. For me, I tried when I was 14. I wasn't ready yet, but I got my medication right here. I try not to take it. My therapist goes, "You need to take medication after a few months. Otherwise, I'm just going to be taking your money. You're not going to get any help." Like, it's just the science behind it had to be explained to me. And how I tied it into GN'Roses, because Slash just celebrated 15 years of sobriety. Duff looks, he turned his life around. Axel, I mean, he was sober for the most part, and Steven turning his life around. So these things I talk about.
But by the way, I'm not above seeing a psychiatrist, and I not for depression, but I have absolutely been helped, and just this year, I highly recommend it. It's great to have talked to a professional, someone who can give you not just an ear, but also an outside view and understanding. And I recently was going through something and went to see a doctor, and so no, I totally support that. I just haven't needed it for depression.
Okay, because there are, of course, it's such a different prism of mental health diseases, and there's different ways to attack it there's no one cookie cutter answer to solve everything. So thank you for admitting that, because I was going to ask how you've been able to a marriage that's been longer than I've been alive. You've been able to fight back in this band, have comeback careers and be so successful, and you can seem like a happy guy all the time. And I wanted to know if for you, if there are certain, I don't know if there's a secret, but if there are certain practices or meditations, mantra, certain people you do talk to in your family, like how do you stay on the right track?
I built an oasis, and there's certain things that I had an odd wisdom early on. That I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I got drunk at 14, my first time I drank, and I laid on the floor vomiting, And the sober voice said, if you ever let me stand up again, God, I will swear off demon alcohol. But I at 14, I recognized I couldn't just have a drink. Like your first drink, I didn't just first drink. I drank until I was on the floor vomiting. And I said, this could be a problem for you. Stay away from that. And the same went with drugs. So I made some wise choices. And one of the other wise choices was I met a girl at a young age, met the one, and I gave up the lifestyle in order to, and believe me, if I didn't, it would be on YouTube by now or Facebook. I know so many guys whose marriages fell apart after Facebook because all of a sudden all these pictures started being posted. There are none. But I found a girl, and even though I didn't have success, we started having children, and thanks to Suzette's strength, the tough Brooklyn chick, she wouldn't put up. Well, I'd come through the front door and go, I am a god. And she'd go, yeah, take out the diaper pail because it smells like shit. I'm like, what? Take out the diapers. They smell it. I'm like, okay. Like, she wouldn't allow, we have a saying in my house, leave your cool at the door. So this oasis where I came there, I shed the rock star, I shed the attitude, I shed the ego, and became husband and became father. And no matter how bad things got, when I lost everything in the early 90s and I was broke and the band fell apart and I was struggling and at a year with $0 income, zero. I borrowing money to keep my family alive, I still had an oasis. These wonderful children who were happy to see me. When I came through the door, Daddy, they yelled, and you know what I mean? So it wasn't by design. I didn't realize I was creating an oasis. I didn't realize, and this will be your safety net. I just made some good choices, and to have that really carried me through all the more difficult times.
Right on. Is She about her, the song?
Absolutely. Someone said to me, is she about music? And I said, you know what? I mean, that is, that is the beauty of, of a more cryptic SHE. What does it mean? Who is she? What is she? Right. And if you go back, Rod Stewart had that song, you're in my heart, you're in my soul, you'll be my friend when I get old. He was singing about soccer. He loves soccer. He loves soccer ball. And he loves to kick a ball around, and that's like his solace. So everybody said, oh, it's about a girl. You know, it's about soccer, So, but I was returning to writing, which I did with this record the first time since the 90s, as I reflected on Dee Snider subject matter, rebellion, and and standing up and fighting back, and but I have consistently written songs about rock. I want to rock. I believe in rock. You can't stop rock and roll. And so I got to rock again. Seemed like a natural. And from time to time, I've written songs about my wife. You're not alone. And other songs like that. And I said, well, I don't know. You never know. I thought last time was my last record. I don't know how many more records I'll do. I said, I think it's time for me to write a song about this incredible person who has literally that oasis. Well, it starts with her, who's kept me, who stood by me and kept me from just, and I've come close to fucking it all up. That was my first bout with a psychiatrist was when we nearly got divorced. And we went to a marriage counselor, and we went the first day, and we spoke for a second. She spoke, I spoke, and Doc said, all right, I want to spend some time with you for a while, Dee, alone. I'm like, what? Like, me? Not her, me? And I remember going 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. I said, we're getting this over with. I'm hiring you. I'll take half your day every day. And I just went for like a month straight, for a week, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for a month. And I said, okay, it's my mother. All right, let's go. So, but anyway, yeah, I nearly fucked that up too. But thankfully, she didn't leave me and stuck with me. And here we are 45 years later.
And she got a song about her.
She got a song. Usually she's unimpressed. Her favorite song, though, she got is she asked me to write her a Christmas song, and I wrote The Magic of Christmas Day, God Bless Us Everyone, for her as a
Okay.
gift. And then the engineer on the session wound up working with Celine Dion, and she was looking for music, and he had a copy of the tape that I had made for Suzette and played it for her, and she wanted to record it. And so that wound up, being
Right on.
a moneymaker. But
Yeah, right on. Great record. I'll just cram a couple things in there since I know I can't keep you forever, as gracious as you are.
Go ahead.
You mentioned just favorite songs and tie in my theme. Do you have a favorite Guns N' Roses song of all time?
Yeah, I like when I'm a West Coast strutting, one bad motherfucking. I love Night Train. That is my favorite fucking Guns N' Roses song.
Right on, because I will give a shout out to one of my listeners, John Neighbor, who just saw you with Kings of Chaos in New Mexico, I believe, and Gilbert Clark was there, and I think you did Knocking on Heaven's Door. So it got me thinking, what would Dee want to play or sing?
I've done that. There's another all-star project that's called Yukon Cornelius, and it's actually made up of all jam band guys, people besides me, people from Bare Naked Ladies, NERD, Guster, Dave Matthews Band, and they bring me in because secretly they're all closet metalheads and hairband guys.
Sure.
And so they do their whole set, and they jam around and covers and stuff, but it's all, and then I come out, and suddenly their legs spread, their mouths open, their guitars drop down low, and they're all of a sudden they're all Slash, and and so and they bring in a lot of people, because Sebastian's worked on that, Brett Scallion from Fuel's been a part of that.
Okay.
And so we've had different people come out. Warren DeMartini comes out as the designated shredder, because they can't do the solos. So they said, we need a designated shredder. I said, I know Warren DeMartini. Like, you think he'd do it? So Warren comes out and plays. He was with us. And so one of the times we did Yukon Cornelius a number of years ago, and you can find it online. I said, I always want to do Night Train. So we do Night Train. That was fun. Yeah.
Okay. Right on. One quick one, because I love horror. Any update as far as new horror stuff you're working on? Strangeland 2, anything regarding that?
I wrote a movie called My Enemy's Enemy. It's a new level for horror, a new genre. I can't get into specifics because I'm also developing a TV show that's inspired by the genre that I create with My Enemy's Enemy, based on a crime on Long Island in 1982. And I took it and I threw a twist on it. And I'm going to be directing that. I was supposed to be directing it this fall, but it got moved back to the spring. So, and the producers are the people who do the Halloween franchise.
Oh, wow.
Are making this movie. So, that is my backdoor into a sequel for Strangeland, because because I couldn't seem to get a sequel made. So I'm figuring, well, if I get this movie made, and the reaction's been very strong to this screenplay I wrote, I said, maybe if I have success with that, then I can go, now can I make my Strangeland sequel? So it's really just a trick. I'm doing this movie, My Enemy's Enemy, so I can ultimately get the sequel to Strangeland made. So fingers crossed on that.
I'm looking forward to both, but I'm also looking forward to, well, I've heard it. The world is looking forward to it already. Leave a Scar comes out July 30th. Dee Snider, thank you so much for your time again. I hope you come back on. We talk more, mental health, Guns N' Roses, more anthemic rock. You're just, this goes by so fast.
I'd love to. Great conversation, and keep doing what you do, man. Next time I see you, you'll have broken 300 shows, I'm sure.
I'd like to think so. I hope so. This summer, what's going on in the back of my head, I'm like, I got to talk to Dee about this and this and this, but I can't do it.
Next time.
Thank you, Dee, so much.
Make notes. We'll do it next time. Okay, man. Take care.
You take care. Bye-bye. That was fun to get Dee Snider on again. Thank you, Dee. And I want to wrap up this episode by talking to you, because this is going to be a little bit of a break, maybe a week or two, because I'm going on vacation. I'll be in Arizona. I think I'm only going to be in Colorado's airport, but Arizona, Utah, I'll be in Chicago. First time in Arizona. I did reach out to Alan Niven former Guns N' Roses manager who does live in Arizona, and hopefully we get to meet up. That would be really cool to meet Alan Niven and break bread with him. And as you know, just been still working on that Doug Goldstein book, slowly but surely. It's hard with different schedules, but it'll happen. Don't worry. And before I forget, any questions, anything you want to read about in Doug's book, or any questions about what you read in Duff or Slash's book that you want Doug to address, just email the show at theafdshow@gmail.com. But so if I have any followers or fellow Guns N' Roses fans in Arizona or Utah or Chicago, let me know. You can send me an email if you want. You can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well. It'll be nice to hit the road. It's weird. I don't know if I want to do a road episode. Maybe there will be one, but obviously the quality will be a little different. But we'll see. And I'll be talking to you on social media sporadically throughout that time. But I want to end here with a message. I'm not going to play the soundbite for Mr. Mailstone, basically just because I don't have it queued up. But I got a message on Instagram that I think is a nice way. It's a nice thing to think about, maybe for me to think about as I take a break, and for you, and perhaps you can help me on it. Perhaps you agree with this message from Nako Nolan. So he writes to me, first time, long time. Was just catching up on some episodes and wanted to give you some constructive criticism. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, which one of the many things that I do wrong is this guy going to call me out on? Because to be honest with you, I catch my mistakes in my brain all the time. I know I mispronounce names. I know I get excitable and stutter at times. I like to think my interrupting problem has lessened. People do need to know that sometimes I interrupt only because the conversation needs to be directed in a different way. And yeah, you may not do that in real life, because in real life, does a conversation need to be directed? Only in therapy and on the radio. So, but yeah, there are times I get excitable and I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this. So yeah, there's a lot of things I'm like, oh, did I get a Guns N' Roses fact wrong? Which I'm sure there are aplenty, but you can always let me know. I am a flawed human being. So he goes, Nako, as somebody who has to interview a lot of people at work as a detective and as a podcast host, I wanted to give you a heads up on some things I've noticed. Okay. You have a positive vibe, which is awesome, but you apologize a lot and come across as passive at times. I hear you apologize for taking a guest's time. They consented to the interview and usually want to be there. So bring it. Brother, if they've called in, you own them. Ask your questions and command the room. Take as long as you want. You don't have to be a dick of a host. Just be a solid host and have a great conversation with them. No one respects weakness or sheepishness. Just my 2 cents from a fellow Queens expat. Keep up the great work. He also writes, I got to hang out with Axl backstage at his House of Blue show in LA for a few hours. One time his partner arrested Slash. And also Weiland got arrested at a station during the BR days. So interesting. Nako seems to have an interesting Guns N' Roses perspective. So let me just say, and I said this to Nako privately, thank you. Honestly, I take constructive criticism as long as it's presented in the manner that Nako did. And my head's not in the sand either. I would think of anything that I might thank them too much. Yeah, I guess I'll apologize, but I guess there's a few things for me to think about maybe while I'm on vacation, and perhaps you to think about and maybe help me with, because I'm going to ask you for some help, for some advice. So if I had time, I was going to ask Dee Snider for some advice, but maybe I'll ask you. Maybe I'll ask him next time. But I just get turned off by really any sense of not genuine ego. You can be confident. That's something I've struggled with. I mean, I think at this point in my life that it's a miracle that I'm engaged, and my life is in a good place. It's not just with radio, just being confident in my real life with things. Yeah, that's why one of the reasons why I went to therapy. But I also, again, I don't want to be one of those radio hosts. I don't want to be a fraud. Like Dee doesn't want to be a fraud. He's not going to sing about mental health, depression, if he's never suffered from it. Man, I respect that comment so much. So I don't want to come off as cocky when I'm not cocky. That's just not who I am. It may lean too much in the other direction at times, but there's a few things I want to be honest with you about. And one of the reasons is what led me to, be a Guns N' Roses fan. And that's just kind of how Axl Rose is. He can kind of like manic. You can be super angry. You can be super, like tinkering with Chinese democracy. I feel like that's my life. I'm always tinkering with stuff, and until it's just right. And as Doug likes to tell me, he's like, she's pregnant. The woman's pregnant. Like the baby's ready to go. Like, let's go. So I had to learn I said to myself in the early days of making just short radio demos, I can't make this Chinese democracy, a Chinese democracy radio air check. I got to get to a point where this is good enough. This is me. Put it out there. Otherwise, it's going to take 15 years or whatever, the Chinese democracy timeline that you want to go by. So it's something that I like to think I get better at. But I also know like people like Dee Snider do a ton of interviews. He is better than the rest as far as understanding the deal of radio and being able, understanding what it's like to talk so much. But there are guys who, it could be their 15th, 20th radio interview of the day. You have these like stupid alt rock DJs, we talk about drugs and sex and rock and roll. The same lame questions, who don't do their research, and it's like, I just never want to be that. And also something that I do want to admit my fault in, I do enough research. And I think people give me credit on doing like way too much research. I do enough. Like if I had the chance to interview Axl Rose, or if I had a producer and all these other things, and I can have these sheets in front of me, yeah, I would do more. But then if I'm too prepared, I'm going to be focused on my notes and not listen to what they're saying. And I don't want to do that. So there are things that I miss. And I'm like, oh, shit, am I going to be called out? So actually what he said, what you said, Nako, is just seeing who I am. So what I've just decided to do with this podcast over time, as we talk about Guns N' Roses and all these other things, is myself. Because I'm the captain of this night train, this podcast night train. Like it or not. So you got to get to know me, and I'm just trying to own it. And it makes me want Axl again, as I talk about it, listeners come out and thank me for talking about my mental health struggles. Imagine if Axl did that. Not to say he has to. That doesn't have to be. I want to make sure that's clear. Not everyone has to tell their story. Like Mick Jagger, I think he was having a hard time working on his autobiography. Look, if it's a hard time for you to talk about, I guess I get it. But Axl has spoken about it, so I kind of just want him to go in a little more. So anyway, I guess also with that, what I want your help with is that I know that it's my heart of hearts. Yeah, I would love to interview Axl Rose. What a dream. He's everybody's, bucket list interview. I'm nobody different. Well, before this podcast started, I'm like, just in radio, my goals were to interview Axl Rose. And at that time, I had a massive crush on Lady Gaga. So I'm like, I want to interview Lady Gaga and ask to be her boyfriend on the air. Like, I'm such a loser. Oh, God, I'm so weird. So, but anyway, either of those things seem very unlikely to happen. But what can happen, and hopefully with your help, and I've been thinking about this, is to interview the other guys. Now, yeah, I've had Dizzy Reed. I've had Richard Fortus. I've had Frank on the show. And I don't know if I'm going to get anybody else. And I don't know if I'm going to get them on again either. Because without mentioning names, because I want to respect the people who gave me this information. And I've heard this from two different, if not three different sources, reliable sources. that after, it was one time after the a brain interview, like, oh, like, it's not even that, after a certain interviews I've done, where like Guns N' Roses is really like the subject, and some sort of clickbait comes out, and Guns N' Roses management, I don't want to start singling people out like crazy, because I've never spoken to Team Brazil. I've tried. I've emailed a few times over the years, very politely. No response, which I do understand to a degree. However, when these very reliable sources tell me that after my Frank interview, when that, made some press, I don't think anything bad. It's never anything that bad that I talk about, really. That there was a message, a text sent out by Guns N' Roses management to the, let's just call it not big three. So everybody that's not Axl, Slash, and Duff, that all interviews need to go through them. Sure, understood. And I was specifically named. I heard this from a few people. 2, 3. Again, I'm trying to keep it somewhat vague because I don't want anyone thinking I'm outing them and breaking their trust. But it's gotten to a point where it hurts. Where if this podcast is going to continue and this band is continuing as they continue to announce dates, and not only am I being blocked from interviewing current Guns N' Roses members who I've had on the show already, but there are some of those members have like side projects, and some of those side projects band members are afraid to come on the show. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I proved myself, I think, a lot with the Miles Kennedy interview, as far as the Slash camp. So I'm hoping that happens one day with Slash. I could talk to him. I'm going to reach out to, see if I can just talk to him about sobriety. Duff, I really do hope happens. I finally got in touch with the separate management that canceled Duff's interview with me. And I thought that guy hated me for some reason, because he was blocking me from other bands. Yeah. Why I can't get Dirty Honey on here. But I've talked to that person, and he's just super protective of his client. And again, what am I going to do? But I spoke about this because with the Iron Maiden interview, where I had to take out the Guns N' Roses part, because of what Blabbermouth might do to it. Again, how is that my fault? I'm not asking set-up questions, to put them. And I said this to Dee before we recorded, and I know Dee, of all people, would laugh, and he did laugh when I said, "Is there anything you don't want to talk about?" And I say this because it's pre-recorded, yeah, but I don't want any gotcha. So it's been relayed to me. There have been 2, 3, 4 times that a representative of Guns N' Roses management has complained about this show. I don't know. I have been told not to take it necessarily personally, but I don't know how not to. They don't know me. I don't know them. So I think what I need your help with is, because I'm just not that big of a deal. If I don't know, if people were saying no to Howard Stern or no to Joe Rogan, would that make some waves? Maybe. I think so. But saying no to Brando, who the fuck am I? So I need your help. If you happen to, when you go to shows this summer, wherever you are, and the Team Brazil is very, again, I go from my perspective of, I don't know them, but I see when fans go out, they seem to be very fan friendly, taking pictures with fans and appreciative, and they have public Instagrams. Beta LaBass, Fernando LaBass, maybe I will say it, but their management, who I've reached out to politely, and you can say, hey, I would really love to hear Melissa Reese on the podcast. Because you know what? She would like to be on the podcast. I've been told that, but she's not allowed. So I'm being deprived. My career is being deprived of these really awesome opportunities. And you are being deprived of interviews. For what? What am I going to do? I've offered, and there's a Twitter page that made fun of me, but it didn't bother me because it is what it is. But how do you interview Richard Fortas? How do you interview a Guns N' Roses member and not ask any Guns N' Roses questions? Well, I did that to prove a point, hopefully, that I could talk to these guys and not ask any Guns N' Roses dirt or ask about new music or anything that could be a hot button issue, as stupid as they may sound, because these should not be big issues. You know, talking about the band that you're in, talking about music that you're supposed to be working on, those are big deals. But I will play ball and not ask. So I've said things and tweeted things here and there, and I want to be professional, and I don't want to seem bitter or ungrateful, but I'm getting frustrated. It hurts my feelings, and I want to see how strong you are, the bad apples of Appetite for Distortion. So if you message them, nothing bad, and if you meet them, nothing bad. This is no sort of this isn't a march on the Capitol. This is a very passive, maybe passive in this way. I'm sorry, maybe you won't like this, but I want you to, it's Nako. You won't like this, Nako. But a passive way of just saying, hey, I would really love to hear Del James on the podcast. And that might be hard. Del is very responsive on Twitter, so that I appreciate. But to get Richard Fortas back on, get Dizzy back on, to get Melissa on at all. So it's like, until I break those barriers, it's going to be, how hard is it? It's still going to get Duff and Slash, and to even get an Axl Rose, because it makes me feel good because I see messages all the time. Oh, you're going to get Axl one day. Believe it or believe it, believe it. And as my cat just pressed a button, so thank you so much. Maybe I needed that. My cat decided to press mute on the board. Oh man, I need a vacation. But how am I supposed to reach the heights of an Axl Rose if I'm being banned from certain interviews? So, I may do an online campaign, but these are the things I need your help with. So if I see more people getting shirts and Redbubble, putting it out there, Appetite for Distortion name on there. I barely mentioned, but I have a Patreon. If you want to contribute to that, I would love to make this show grow by adding a nicer looking camera or making my setup better so the show looks better and we get bigger and bigger guests, by just making everything look better, and hopefully get to a point where I can do giveaways. But, what I've been able to do with everything limited, with limited budget and a limited guest pool, we've made it this far. But let's push. Let's push farther. You know what? So maybe I will take your advice a little bit, Nako, where I would like my listeners to be, a very positive and non-aggressive approach to spreading, trying to get Guns N' Roses people on the show. I just don't want anyone turning this around and being like, oh, we keep marching. I don't need a soupy sales moment. Look it up, kids. But maybe I need to be aggressive though with this. Maybe I need to start calling people out. Does that need to happen? Because it's not usually my style, but maybe it needs to be. Maybe we need to push. Hashtag get Melissa Reese on the podcast. That's a shitty hashtag. That's why I'm not good. That's why I'm not good at things trending. I need you to help me. Free Britney, free the interviews. Maybe. Does that work? I don't think so. Anyway, as a rambling, it's just because I know I'm going to be gone for a little bit from the microphone. So as you just continue to support however you've been doing it, whatever you choose to do, if you want to, shoot beta or or Fernando a DM being like, hey, Appetite for Distortion, the guy, Brando, he's pretty cool. He's nice. You shouldn't hate him. You know, the show is okay. And I also will say that supposedly of all the evils, because I'm associated with alternativenation.net, Brett, with all the clickbait, he's always changed the clickbait if I've asked him to. So I'm doing everything I can to make this show as good as that can be. But in the meantime, we'll just get great guests despite all that shit. Right? All right. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next episode? Well, like I said, I'm going to be away for a couple weeks. Arizona, Utah, Chicago. I hope to meet some of you out there. Follow along on social media, facebook.com/the AFD show, at the AFD show. Instagram, Appetite for Distortion. Again, email, the AFD show at gmail.com to check in. That's how the conversation continues between the broadcasts. But as far as the next episode, when will you see it? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.